Hello, everybody. Welcome back to
Hello.
Geeks and Geeks. Well, I am Siberia.
I'm Kirsten.
Hi, I'm Pumpkin.
And I'm Lauren.
Yay.
And we are Geeks and Geeks. This week.
Wow.
Hey, Pumpkin, don't be a little buzzkill.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bitch.
Yeah.
Why our podcast listeners can't even see us dancing.
They can't, but they can dance with us in spirit.
Yeah.
It's a YouTube exclusive. If you want to see our terrible dances, go
Watch it on YouTube.
You gotta pay good money to see this. All right, so this week I had you guys watch the psychological horror thriller Last Night in Soho.
Ooh.
So I figure we'd go around and give our final thoughts first.
Okay.
Now, do you want me to go first, or should you guys go first and then I give mine?
I think we can go first and then you do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can go first. Actually, Kirsten, you can go first.
Okay, I'll go first. I wrote something. It was a gorgeous movie. It had a great soundtrack. The movie started off really strong and had so much potential to be great, but the story kind of went a little downhill and the ending was a little anticlimactic. I was left with questions and I guessed a major plot point early in the film. All in all, it's not a bad film. It's just not the best I've seen. I give it a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
I enjoyed
I
it.
accept the 7. I have some qualms with the rest.
Okay. Mine's short. I just said I thought Last Night in Soho was riveting, gorgeous, and has so many deep things to say. I want to cosplay Sandy now. I give it a 9 out of 10. Only 1 point off because it wasn't like that scary, but 9 out of 10. I loved it.
Okay.
I kind of am cosplaying Sandy today.
You kind of are.
You kind of are.
Yeah. For anyone who's not watching, Siberia is in full beat today.
Yeah.
Which is why you should watch it on YouTube.
So when you finish listening, go watch it.
Yeah, go watch it again.
Listen to us twice.
Yeah.
All right, Lauren.
I didn't write anything. As I said to you guys before we started, I was a little under the weather today, so I watched it. It was a rewatch for me. Anyways, I really like this movie. I enjoyed it the first time I watched it, and I really enjoyed it the second time, even though obviously there's less of the like whodunit aspect of it, because like the second time. But yeah, I just think this movie is beautiful. I think it's so fun and creative, and like so much of the like how they filmed it, like the parallels of how they filmed like both girls in each scene, I think is like
those are my favorite parts.
Yeah, like really
my
creative.
favorite parts. Yeah.
Obviously Anya Taylor-Joy is like a joy to watch anytime she's on screen. And I think the twist at the end is fun. And yeah, overall this is like a 8.5 for me. I think it's a great movie.
Okay.
Oh yes. Now, I could do a TED Talk on this movie, so I wrote a lot for my final thoughts.
Give it to us.
So my final thoughts, the little title thing I wrote is, I am so in love with this film.
That's cute.
Get ready, there's a lot of puns. Okay, so I have Last Night in Soho was a wild ride from start to finish. This was one of the rare movies where the plot twist actually had me truly surprised. It is a killer example of a fresh and original take in the storytelling category, and it deserves merit for that alone. It also does a good job showing the treatment of women as sex workers in the 1960s and the deeply traumatizing effects it has on the psyche, while being paired with the blind nostalgia Ellie has for the 60s, making her rethink her romanticization, as well as showing the stigmatization of mental health, especially when asking for help. As for the other elements of this movie, the cinematography, creative as fuck. The lighting, immaculate. The acting, stacked cast, and believable character portrayal. All of that is just the cherry on top of the killer story. This movie toes the line between psychological thriller, slasher, and supernatural, and I am here for every single second of it. Edgar Wright hit it out of the park. This one is damn near perfect. 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah. Woo! Also, for what it's worth, I watched this with my brother. My brother does not like psychological horror movies, and he told me that this was an exception. He really liked it. So
nice.
Yeah, he said he doesn't like ones that have you like confused the whole time.
Siberia, when did you watch this for the first time? Or and like how many times have you seen it
like
since?
Month and a half ago, probably.
Okay.
And yeah, it literally, I hadn't stopped thinking about it since then. And then when we got psychological, I was like, oh,
That's the one. I love a movie that just makes you like, you just start thinking about it for so long afterwards.
Yes.
That's like my Hereditary is like, I couldn't stop thinking about that movie for like 3 weeks after I watched it.
Same.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
that
me
one's
with-
so good
it's me
too.
with Nope right now.
Yeah.
Oh, I still haven't seen it. I feel the FOMO is now really real.
So
You
good.
need to go watch it this weekend.
Yes.
No,
Yes,
it's
I
so
do.
good. Yeah.
Shall we move on to the little fun trivia facts that I
Yeah.
have?
Give it to me,
Yes.
baby.
Yes.
All right. The first one I have is that the scene where Eloise first sees Sandy through the mirror is done practically, and they used twins to play the cloakroom attendants.
Oh.
Up the scene. It's like so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
And then also during the dance sequence between Sandy, Ellie, and Jack, there were only 2 moments that weren't practical, and the rest were transitions choreographed and done with the camera work.
Wow.
That's really cool. That's
Like
really
a
cool. I like
spin
that.
that would like lead, like you see like a back, and then he like actually starts dancing with her, like the other one.
Yeah.
Or something.
I
That's
love
cool.
that shot.
So
Yeah.
cool. And then Thomas and Mackenzie, who played Ellie, dropped out of Top Gun Maverick to be in this movie.
Oh.
Interesting. I think
Which
this was better.
I also heard was good. I haven't seen it, but I heard.
I haven't seen it either. I'm not a straight man.
Right. I was like, I mean,
I got the monkeypox vaccine. I haven't seen Top Gun.
the correlation of have you seen Top Gun Maverick and have you had monkeypox vaccines?
Yeah. They're
On a scale of
okay.
how gay are you?
got the monkeypox vaccine.
Seen Top Gun Maverick.
Oh my gosh, is currently wearing a wig. Okay, to achieve the shots of the students walking down the nighttime Soho streets, the crew hit a steady cam within a bicycle rickshaw taxi, and the road was not closed off, and the extras in the shot were unaware that they were in the movie.
Oh, that's interesting.
Is that legal?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
yes, because you're not really
Probably
seeing any
if you're
faces,
not, like,
because they
their
were all like
faces.
blurred out.
I guess
Yeah.
that's true. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the last one I have is author Stephen King had the opportunity to see this movie at an advanced screening, and he was so impressed by what he saw, he tweeted, "I hardly ever rewatch. There's so many good things out there, but this one is special."
Ooh.
Wow.
Which from Stephen King is a pretty high compliment.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he also said The Witch was like his
I was
like
about
the
to
scariest
say.
movie he's ever seen, and I hated that movie. So
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Mm,
I
very
haven't seen
bad.
The Witch, so this is a cool compliment for me.
all of us like remembered the witch comment, just like,
Like,
lowered mine.
Just like shuddering, like, oh, witch.
oh, the witch.
Ugh.
All right, shall we dig into this meaty little plot?
Yes.
All right. I also, like Lauren did last week, wrote my own little summary things and chapters with little titles, because I like the idea that this is a book club. I think that's
It's a book
cute.
club.
Yes.
That's what we
Okay.
are.
Yeah.
So chapter 1, I called Accepted.
Mm.
So Eloise Ellie Turner loves the music and fashion of the swinging 60s and dreams of becoming a fashion designer. Her mother, who was also a fashion designer, unalived herself in Ellie's childhood. So Ellie was raised by her sweet-ass maternal grandmother.
Grad.
She occasionally sees her mother's ghost in mirrors, and this is a known thing within her family. Her and her grandmother talk openly about it.
Mhm.
Ellie moves from her rural home in Cornwall to London after being accepted to study at the London College of Fashion. We cut to her moving into her quite dated dorm, where she has trouble fitting in with her horrible roommate, Jocasta, and frankly, the rest of her peers as well. Only John, one of her classmates, give her the time of day and treats her with some kindness.
Mhm.
Discuss.
I literally hate Jocasta so much. She's such
She's
an
a
awful
fucking
bitch.
Oh, I
She's
want it.
such a
Oh,
bitch.
she made me so mad. I have to say though, I loved the opening. I love a horror movie. I think we've said this before. I love a horror movie that starts off not scary at all,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
just like get to know your character and fall in love with them. Like her newspaper dress was.
I wrote that down.
Oh.
I was like, her
I
name.
I love her
is
dress.
like-
I like immediately loved her as somebody else who like, of course, we're all like fashion showing people, whatever. So I was just like newspaper dress. Oh my gosh, I want her to be
Exactly.
my friend.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I
Christian.
literally wrote a seamstress. Of course I love this movie.
I got really wait, we haven't talked about where they went out. Like,
No, not yet.
okay, I'll wait. Phil.
Oh,
Alright.
I also thought the part of her like deciding how she wants to like present her name as a fashion designer was really cute. Like
That was cute. She's like trying to shorten it.
Turner, Ellie Turner, like Ellie T. I just thought that was like really cute and relatable. Like it's like the same as like when you like practice your signature and it's like how do I want my signature to look if I'm ever famous, you know?
Yep.
It's just like a cute little
I always used to
moment.
think about that, like if I was to become a famous actress, I was like, is Kirsten Van has the normal name for me to like have? And I was like thinking about that, like
It's like
yeah.
actually a great like famous person name.
It is.
It's a good
I
name.
always like in the corner, I'd be like, just practicing that signature because I was like, I'm gonna be on Broadway. I'm gonna have to sign the playbills after the show.
I practiced my signature too.
Like, it's a relatable little thing. Just like her, just like how does she want to present to the world? Is very just a sweet moment.
I was gonna go back to the roommate and those other girls. I was having war flashbacks. Just everybody else is getting along so well, and you're the black sheep, and you're the odd one out, and you don't get it. And I was like,
yeah. And then I was like, surely the dead mom thing will bring them together. Nope, she's just gonna make fun of her for it, even though her own mom is dead.
God, when she made it, when she like tried to like make it a competition that like.
But we've all known a Jocasta. We've all known it.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
We've
definitely known a Jocasta.
Then it's you.
Yeah. But also her point about like her name was like, she's not wrong. Like,
it
just going back. She's like, do you know any other Jocastas? And it's like, you got me there, bitch.
Oh, also, this is another fun fact I forgot to say. Edgar Wright, Jocasta is the name his parents would have given him if he had been born a girl, the director.
Cool.
So that's why, I don't know why he chose the literal worst character to give
Just a fun little Easter egg.
His evil alter ego.
Yeah.
I also said when they all go out, like that feeling of being the fifth wheel of like a friend group is the fucking worst.
Okay, so we're talking about them going out, right?
Oh, wait.
Because I have notes about that.
Yeah.
Oh, then yes, we have talked about her going out. Never mind.
Okay. So I had such major like a lot of this beginning put me in so many feels because I had so many flashbacks of times where I'm like, I really don't want to go out, but I'm forced to go out. And like just seeing her stand there, like I'm like, literally me. And then she goes into the bathroom and she hears them like talk like crap about her, and then she goes out and pretends like she didn't hear anything. I'm just like, I was sitting there like cringing because I was like, oh no.
The bathroom trope always breaks my heart.
I know, it's so sad.
Yeah, my heart was absolutely breaking for her because like I mean like we've I think almost everybody's like been in her shoes at some point where you're kind of like, oh, they're laughing at me, not with me. They don't like me. This sucks.
Yeah. And that's also, that was one of my favorite shots too, is like when you just see her stand there and then everybody's like having fun talking and she's just standing there with a drink. I just loved that shot in general. I was like, that's a powerful shot.
It's also like a sad thing because like, I mean, I went to a party school, so it's like we all know what it's like to like be in the moment and be partying and stuff, but like when you're not in the mood for it and you like don't know anyone and you're just like, can I please, but they're like in her dorm room, like she can't go anywhere. There's like a party raging
and she has to curl up with her like blanket like in the party.
So
like
sad. I feel so bad
when
for her.
Jocasta barges into the room and just starts just like going at it, I'm like,
it's just miserable.
And then John holding Ellie's Coke can.
Cute. No. I like John a lot though.
Yeah, he's really sweet.
Yes.
John, I love him so much, but dear God, I don't know how he stuck. I'll get to it, but
that's what I was saying. I was like, he's a better person than me. I would have been like, this bitch is crazy. I'm out of here.
So much better than me.
Bye, Ellie. You're fucking insane.
That's it.
I'm out of here.
Yeah, he's the what was his name from Drag Me to Hell? He's the
I forget.
Justin Long's character.
Yeah, he's the Justin Long's character of this film.
Putting up with too much.
Yeah.
Oh, also going back to her taxi ride, the behavior of the driver is like pretty. I would also say it's foreshadowing for like the kind of men that are in the neighborhood because of like the
Oh.
rest of the movie.
I was getting so much anxiety for her.
Awful.
You're like trapped in the car and your Uber driver's creepy and you're like, just fucking, just drop me off. Just drop me off. Stop talking to me.
Just
Oh
let
my
me
God.
out. Let me out.
Oh, poor thing. Just a small town girl in big city.
Right?
Yeah.
Ugh.
And everybody's a bitch.
Everyone's awful.
Literally, why is everyone around her an asshole? I'm so
Everybody
confused.
sucks. Everybody sucks but John and her
Yeah.
teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And her gran. Don't forget.
And her gran.
Gran is the MVP, baby.
She really
I love
is.
her.
Love Gran.
We stand Gran.
We stand
We
gran.
said gran.
Gran
Are we
stand.
ready to move
Our
to
new
chapter?
merch.
Gran
Are we
stand.
ready to move to chapter 2?
Yes.
Brother.
All right. Chapter 2, A Vision in Pink.
Ooh.
Rightfully unhappy in the dormitory, Ellie moves into a bedsit, which is a one-room apartment typically consisting of a combined bedroom, sitting room with cooking facilities. Owned by the elderly Miss Collins. That night, Ellie has a very vivid dream where she is transported back to the 1960s, which, if we recall from the exposition at the beginning, that's Ellie's favorite time period. At the Café de Paris, she observes a confident young blonde woman, Sandy, sensually and quite ferociously inquiring about becoming a main act at the club despite having no club singing experience. Sandy begins a relationship with the charming teddy boy manager, Jack, who is played by Doctor Who himself, Matt Smith. The next morning, Ellie designs a dress heavily inspired by Sandy, and her evil former roommate, Jocasta, discovers a love bite on her neck and gives her shit for it. Discuss.
I would just like to say that Olenna Tyrell being the older lady is like, I love her.
Like, Badass of the Century Award
She
to
should
her.
just be the old lady in everything because she's
Diana
amazing.
Rigg, Queen of the World. This was her last movie, actually, before passing away.
Oh.
Did she die?
I believe so.
What?
I'm not gonna fact check it.
Yeah,
Oh
I
my
guess you
God.
should.
Wait, I'm on it.
I thought that's what I read. I could be wrong. This could be like an Leslie Jordan situation.
Hang on.
I'm really.
She died 2 years ago.
Oh, I was right.
Oh,
Unfortunately, I was
no.
right. Yeah,
Unfortunately,
this was like
oh.
apparently the movie's dedicated to her.
Oh, owie. That sucks.
I liked the how like the police lights outside coming in through her apartment window like suddenly became like the lights in the club and whatever.
Oh,
I like.
Well, there's like a neon sign. That's
Yeah,
like
it's
the
the
flash.
neon
The bistro sign.
Oh, I thought
Yeah.
it was like, oh, okay. I thought it was like
Yeah.
stuff or whatever. But yeah, I love that. Like she always. Because at first I was like, girl, get some blackout curtains.
I know. I was like,
that.
if this was my apartment, I would not be
That
able
drives
to
me
survive
crazy.
that.
I said I love these lights for the aesthetic, but holy
Yep.
shit, I could not live there.
I literally have like the exact same note.
The but yeah, that whole beginning scene, I was just like that's so cool. Like
Mhm.
it'd be her, and then you'd switch and it'd be her, and then like she'd look in the mirror and it'd be two different people, and then when they dance, it's like it's switching around. I was like, oh, this is so cool.
Yeah, and one of my other favorite shots from this section is when she throws the sheet over herself in bed and the camera like
Yes,
zooms
it's
out.
such a
Yeah.
good shot.
It's
I
so
love
good.
that.
Oh,
It was funny though, because what's the name of the guy that plays Jack?
Matt Smith.
Matt Smith. When he popped up, my immediate first thought was like, "Oh, that's the doctor." And then my
Yeah.
brother
Doctor
goes,
Who.
"That man has no eyebrows."
Today
He's
I met a
he's in
man
a
with
lot of
no
stuff right now.
eyebrows.
Also, it
I
bothered
also
me
said
though.
2 months rent plus 2 months deposit is fucking ridiculous.
It's a
So
lot.
ridiculous.
That's insane.
It's a lot.
Because that's what she charges for up front.
But that's like her.
Yeah.
I think she knows, that like. But I don't know. It sort of
I guess.
maybe implied
Get
that
your
it
coin
happens.
then, I guess, girl.
It's like sort of implied that it's maybe happening because she sort of says there's a history of like girls leaving too soon, but it's like
Mhm.
what's the main girl's name? Sorry, I can't remember.
Ellie.
Really?
Yeah,
Ellie.
Ellie. She like, but she's got this supernatural thing where she can like see ghosts. So it's like, is
Right.
that happening to everyone in the room? Like,
That
is
was
the room
my
the power or
question.
is it Ellie's power?
I think maybe the room has been pushing people out with like weird paranormal stuff, but because she can see ghosts already, that this is
Yeah.
becoming a more fleshed out experience for her specifically.
Yes.
And the neon lights.
Oh, of course.
It drove me crazy though that she was asking for a Vespa the whole time, and then Jack's like, "Get this lady a Vespa." She gets her Vespa, and then she like sits it down and doesn't drink it, and they run away.
I'm like,
I was like, "Drink your
you
Vespa."
fought so hard.
That's so hard.
We should have had Vespas in honor of the movie.
I have no idea what a Vespa is.
I don't either.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
None of us know. I guess it's like an old timey drink. Because when Ellie asked for one later, they were like, "Do you know what kind of place this is? This is just like a pub, girl. We don't have."
I'm on it. Hang on, I'm on it.
What is a Vespa? Tell us.
Oh, there's something called a Vesper. I thought they were
That's what
saying
it is.
Vespa.
Yeah, it's Vesper. I thought that's what they
But
were
they're
saying.
just British.
So it said, yeah.
That's that.
Is a
Vespa.
cocktail originally made of gin, vodka, and Kina Lillet.
It has gin. I don't want it.
I'm not a
No,
gin
I don't want
person.
it.
Yeah, no.
I mean,
Yeah.
I like
Tina
gin,
Lillet
but
is. I'm sorry to her, but
with a little bit of lemon peel. So there you go.
Ew,
ew.
so
A
it's
Vesper.
straight up just liquor with some lemon.
It's liquor and lemon.
Yeah, so it is.
Pine Sol, baby. That's
Also, when
nasty.
she's showing her the room and she says that she has such an affinity for the 60s, I was like, you don't like every part of the 60s, right?
Yeah.
Not like the whole thing.
Not every bit of it.
I was born in the wrong era.
Yeah, this whole like I was already like interested in the movie, but as soon as like these crazy shots started up, I was like hooked. I didn't even want to take notes because I was just, like mesmerized by the cinematography.
Literally, I don't know if you can see this. My notes are like, Jesus Christ, are you kidding me?
I didn't-
She doesn't have any. She's like thinking
No,
about.
no, my
didn't
notes.
take-
My note section is only like this long.
I didn't take any. I was so tired.
That is, and me, I literally have like a fucking novel over here. Because I have one, the dancing scene with the transit, it's like literally eye crack. Like watching
It's
that
so
scene
good.
with
That
them
scene
just
is
like
pretty.
switching, you're just like,
It's so good.
And even just like quick scenes of like going up and down those stairs, but there's like the mirrors on it, and it's like not even focused on Ellie, but you can like still see her running up the stairs at the same time. It's just like so cool.
Also, did you notice she wore a big ass pink shirt to class the next day? Who could that be inspired by?
Oh, I didn't even pick
Big
it
I
up.
actually
tiny
didn't know
shirt.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, the hickey reveal, I was like, ooh,
Which,
something different happening.
Again, begs the question, like, because obviously there's this element of her, she like is Sandy, but like not all the time. Like obviously she can like leave.
Yeah,
and-
see, that's one of the questions I had. I was like,
so I don't know
At
how
one
she got
point,
the
at one point, I was like, I don't understand what this power is. Does she like go back and be that, or is she seeing the things? Like, I don't know. That's one of the things that I was like, I'm confused.
I assumed that since she has this ability to see ghosts, that, and maybe I'm totally wrong, but it felt like the ghosts of the 60s that were haunting that apartment wanted to like show her what happened.
Agreed.
And like I don't know, it felt like she has this ability to like, because you know how some people say that like, oh, ghosts are just energy or whatever, and so places can be haunted without anyone having died there. It's just the leftover energy. Maybe she can just like tap into that energy left there in that time period.
Yeah, and she like wanted to go there so bad.
Yeah.
Also, like she had the yearning. I also have a note from the classroom scene that says, "What the actual fuck is Jacasta's problem?"
I know. It's like,
Like,
why does she have such a problem
Holy
with her?
shit!
Yeah.
That's just bitch. Like, no redeeming qualities.
We all know that bitch though.
Yeah.
Also, her being like, "Yes, I do have plans," is the equivalent of like, "Yeah, I have to go read fan fiction in my room."
It is though.
Literally.
She was like, "I have to go fantasize for a second."
I have to go maladaptive daydream.
Right. I was just gonna say, what's that thing that people do on TikTok where they're like, "I'm in Hogwarts."
Oh yeah, what do they
like,
call it?
Oh, shifting.
Shifting.
Yeah.
That's what she's doing. She's
I
shifting.
gotta go shift.
She
Let me
actually
shift
gets
to my
do it.
potion
Yeah, but
claw.
she is doing it. Yeah.
Bitch.
But I love how much her confidence is brought up, even just after that like first time. Like, she's so much more confident.
It definitely feels like Ellie just wants to be like an it girl, and Sandy, to her at the beginning, like is the it girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally, what's the actress's name? And
Anya?
Anya Taylor-Joy.
Anya Taylor literally looks like Twiggy. It looks like she like
Oh,
walked out
Literally.
walked out of like a
She's
mo-
so
60s magazine. It's
So
like
pretty.
perfect casting for her. She looks
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like
I literally have a note that says Anya Taylor-Joy has no right being that pretty.
She
I
is so
know.
stunning.
It should be illegal.
Are we ready to move on to the next chapter?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, chapter 3 I called Blonde Ambition.
Oh my gosh, your chapter titles are fantastic.
Thank you. All right. Ellie has another dream in which Sandy successfully auditions at a Soho nightclub arranged by Jack, and she serves a haunting rendition of Downtown. Ellie starts out being only reflections in these dreams, but now she has her own body and is observing the scene from her own perspective. Sandy then returns to the same bedsit that Ellie has rented. Coincidence? I think not. Inspired by the visions in her dreams, Ellie cuts and dyes her hair blonde, changes her fashion style to match Sandy's, and gets a job at a basement pub in Soho. She is heavily observed by a silver-haired man who seems to instantly recognize her similarities to Sandy. In further dreams, Ellie discovers Sandy is not living the life she had hoped for. She has now been swindled into being pimped out by Jack to his many male business associates. Discuss.
Hate where it goes for her. It's like
Right?
so sad. And it's like kind of just gradual. Like, oh, like, well, he sort of says that line like, everyone does it. Like, what makes you so special? And it's like she's so hesitant and reluctant, and like how far it falls for her is just like, oh, you just see her as this girl, like you're rooting for Sandy even though she's not even like the main character in the story, and to see it devolve into like she is just sort of being whored out for what even she doesn't even like become
The star she
the
wants.
star. It's so sad, but I do have it in all caps, Downtown, because that was so good. I
It
love
was
that.
her voice is gorgeous.
so
It was
good.
So good. But
And
yeah,
she sang it live a cappella.
Oh,
Of course she
wow,
did.
Of course. I actually thought that the main like message of the movie was like more of like a feminist take. I didn't actually realize it was a critique on like this nostalgia or whatever. That part missed me because I'm dumb. But yeah,
I think what you're saying is also correct.
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, it felt like, if you want to be like a famous woman, if you want to be in the entertainment or fashion or beauty industry or whatever, you have to have no boundaries. You have to just let people walk all over you and treat you however and sexualize you, even though that's not what you want, because otherwise, like, you're not going to get anywhere. But half the time you don't get anywhere anyway.
Yeah. Ugh. It's heartbreaking.
I
But
know.
what is like funny about this movie is I made a note like the city shots in this movie really do have this nostalgia about them that you're like, I want to go there.
It's like when it's zoomed out, when you're seeing like this big picture,
You
it's
see
like,
the big,
oh,
pretty
the
picture.
lights. But when you get zoomed in, and there's like I don't know if it's in this section, but there's that part where she's like walking sort of backstage, and she's looking into all the rooms, and it's like she's seeing people like shoot up, and it's like people are dying and throwing up, and there's a girl on the phone that's like, it's not what I thought it would be, and it's like sort of that same idea of like once you get zoomed into it, it's like, oh, it's a nightmare, everything's awful.
Yeah, it is interesting, like the lighting and the cinematography and everything is different when she's in the 60s. Everything's like brighter and clearer, like all the colors like really pop. And
saturated.
Then it's like real life is like boring in comparison. But then as the movie goes on later, like when she's in the 60s, it gets like darker, things get fuzzier, it's hard to see what's going on exactly. Like the colors get kind of creepy. I really liked that.
I also I wanted Sandy's patent leather white trench coat so bad. It was so cute.
Also, I had a feeling that the old guy wasn't Jack the whole time, because I was like, he doesn't look similar at all. Like, their casting could not be that off. Like, this man has eyebrows. Jack does not have eyebrows. But
old men always have like bushy eyebrows, so.
Not if he just suddenly started growing eyebrows at like 70.
They get so hairy. Old men are hairy everywhere.
That's true.
Think of the ear hair that like old men have.
They do have that ear hair.
That is true.
They're growing hair everywhere.
Oh, But when they're doing that little ventriloquist dance thing and Sandy's just like a backup girl or whatever, I loved her makeup. It was
That whole number was
so
a serve. I called it
cute.
drag in my notes.
I know. I was like, I know you're sad about being a backup dancer, but like you look so cute.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
I'm also
that-
just like a sucker for like a cabaret type scene, just
Give
like
it to me.
the whimsy and the I just love like
My
that.
musical theater
scene.
ass is like,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Just like makes you want to do kicks and sparkle.
Also, the
what-
Sam Claflin jump scare. I was like, hi.
I know. I love that
hello.
he's just like randomly in it for just like that one little quick scene.
And he's so good. That scene is so good when she is like banging on the mirror and she's like, Sandy, look at me.
Yeah.
Look at me.
Yeah, that's the whole what's your name? And she like the what's your name scene. I have
Yes.
written down, and like she says something different every time until she's just like cracking up that it's the absurdity of it for her of just
That's
like
later, right?
it might be. I'm not sure where you ended.
No, because
That section.
that's a lovely name. I have this in that section though. That whole
Okay.
scene is fucking
Oh.
breathtaking.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I forgot.
Yeah.
What
It's the one where she's on the bed and they're all like, that's a lovely name. That's a lovely name.
Yeah.
Ugh. This whole section is crazy. This is when things start to really go downhill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the speed at which it goes from like her fun, like, oh, I'm in the 60s to like it just gets bad so quickly, and then you just see her starting to like dread going back to her room because it's like at night because with the music and the lights it like sort of triggers it all into motion every night, and just like she starts losing sleep and she's losing her sense of like what is real and what is not.
Yeah.
It's
Also,
it
if this old man
evolves.
didn't want to come off as creepy and didn't want to come off like the murderer, why would he say a line like, I like to keep track of all the pretty girls around here?
That's literally what my brother and I said afterward when she's like, oh, that's not Jack, that's Lindsay, whatever. We were like, then why the fuck was he so creepy?
Why would he be in like that?
Why was he creepy? I don't understand. Of
But
course,
again, old men just
I
Yeah.
guess so.
I guess
think
so.
that's
But
just how they
there's
are.
like Leslie Jordan. I wouldn't think he was being creepy.
was that?
Leslie Jordan?
Oh,
Yeah, like he's
him.
an old man that I don't think is creepy.
Oh, okay.
He'd be like, I keep track of all pretty girls around here.
Oh.
And I'd be like, yes,
That's
you
fair.
do.
Yeah, you do, Leslie.
Absolutely do.
I also said the jump scare where she looks back into the bedroom and all of the men are standing there. It got me. I yelled. I did.
Yep.
Okay, I made this note and I don't even know if it's accurate, but have any of you seen the movie Men yet?
Not
Yeah.
yet, no.
I
I haven't either, but just from what I've heard about it, I feel like this movie does correctly what Men is like trying to do, which might be totally wrong because I haven't seen Men, but just like from what I've heard of it, it's like
only heard bad things about men. So.
Yeah. I've
right,
only
but
heard
it's like,
bad things,
it's
yeah.
supposed to be like this commentary on
Same.
men being, and like I feel like this movie does that really well of like when they're all in her room and it's like everywhere she turns she's seeing these like shadowy, and she starts being afraid of the people in her real life because it's like she doesn't know who she can trust, and she knows like this inner working of like how awful they can be. And
I loved that the ghosts of these men had no faces.
Mhm.
Randy says it's because she just didn't want to even look at them. Like she didn't want to give them a face.
Mm-mm.
Like that broke my heart.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It's rough.
But then they have faces at the end.
Uh-huh.
When she opens the door,
That
Mm,
like suddenly they're human.
yeah.
getting
I
ahead of
was like-
ourselves.
Yeah. We're jumping ahead.
I'm gonna cut that shit right now.
It's just so cool.
All right, are we ready to move on to the next section?
Yeah.
All right, chapter 4, Knife to Meet You.
Mm.
In her waking life, Ellie is invited to go out with John to a costume rave that actually looks like hella fun. Ellie is disturbed by increasingly menacing apparitions that resemble Jack and the men who exploited and used Sandy in the club before seeing an apparition of Sandy herself before running out of the club. John finds her on the street and offers to walk her home, even though Miss Collins doesn't allow men after 8 p.m. While making out with John on the bed, she has a vision of Jack murdering Sandy in the mirror above her bed. Miss Collins catches them, and Ellie is super shaken up. She decides to track down the creepy silver-haired man, who she believes to be Jack. She goes to the police, but is not taken seriously, so she tries to find newspaper reports about Sandy's murder. Instead, she finds stories of local men who vanished without a trace. Believing she must avenge Sandy, Ellie confronts the silver-haired man in the basement bar she works at. He denies killing Sandy, instead saying, "You'll find Alex killed Sandy." He then leaves the pub, but is struck by a taxi during an argument with Ellie and killed. We then find out he was Lindsay and not Jack. Discuss.
Dude, when Jacosta's like, "Here, have a drink," I was like, "Don't drink it. Do not drink it."
I was like,
Don't
Nope.
take
do
it.
not take any drink from Jacasta. What's wrong with you?
Absolutely not.
Also, I gotta say, I really thought just the written line was kind of really like teenage comedy when he's like, she's like, "You don't want anybody like me. I'm not normal. That's why I like you." And I was like, "Oh no!"
It's
That
like
was
the
cliche.
Riverdale. What's the
It's
Riverdale?
giving, it's giving Riverdale.
Whatever he says.
I was like, "No, don't
I'm
say
weird.
that."
That's
don't
it.
fit in.
Right.
You
I
ever
was
seen me
proud
without
of
this
Ellie
hat?
though for owning her Sandy energy on the dance floor. Like she went out there and she shredded her shit.
Yeah.
She really did.
Also, oh, go ahead.
There you go.
I was just gonna say, did anybody else? You guys have seen Coraline, right?
Yeah.
Did anyone else think that the way that like John would tilt his head and like get
He's like Wybie, right?
like a Wybie.
I thought I
He
thought that
reminded me
too.
so
I was
much
like,
of
there's
Wybie.
something about how he moves. It reminds me of Wybie, and
There's
I
one
don't
scene
know.
where he literally like tilts his head and gets like a big smile, and I was like,
Yeah.
Wybie?
That's so,
That's
I
so
didn't even,
funny that you said that because I totally thought that, and I was like,
Also, back to John. She literally like freaks the fuck out in that room, and he's just like, and then like Mrs. Collins is banging on the door, like, "I'm gonna call the police," and he's just like, "Oh fuck!" And then the next day, he's still like super nice to her. I would have been
He's
like,
like,
"No,
I would have been like, fuck
sorry.
that bitch.
I would've
She's
been like-
crazy.
So crazy."
block her number.
Yeah.
Okay?
I know
We're
he's
back
like
away from this situation.
sweetest
And
boy
then-
award.
And then she like sees the stuff in the library, and she goes to stab one of them, and I'm sitting there thinking, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, she almost
You know
scissors Jocasta.
And
But
then
if you
John-
in a
had to
not
pick
sexual
someone
way.
to stab,
Yeah,
if you
I know,
had to pick
but then-
someone.
And then John
Yeah.
catches it, and I'm like, is this another instance when you're like, she's crazy?
Good reflex and stuff.
Yeah, and he's like, everything's fine, and Jocasta's like, the fuck, everything is
No,
fine.
it's not. This girl
Like, I
tried to
almost
kill
just got
me.
No,
stabbed
it
in the
would have
head.
been fine if you had continued stabbing her.
You should have let her, John.
Jeez, like if there was one person, like let her.
Right?
This is the part where like I hate this in movies when everybody like makes the woman look like she's crazy, and I understand that's like the plot of it, but like because everybody's talking about she's crazy. She goes to the police, they don't believe her, they think
Yeah.
she's crazy, like they do the like wellness check on her, and I'm just like, I was literally cringing. I was
Yeah.
just like, because then she has that like fit in her class too, and I'm like, oh, I'm cringing. I hate this.
I know that's
Yeah.
that's like one of my least favorite tropes too. Is like
Yeah.
everyone convinces the woman that she's crazy when like
Yeah.
something is actually happening. It's like that happens in a
I
lot of
felt.
like paranormal type
Yeah.
movies and stuff.
If Grand was here, she'd believe her.
Yeah.
She would.
That's how I felt season 1 of Stranger Things, where like Joyce is like, my kid is talking to me with Christmas lights, and everyone's like,
Yeah.
okay, crazy.
Okay,
Okay,
crazy.
Grandma. Like, get to bed.
And you just get like the worst, you get the worst like secondhand embarrassment because you're like,
Yes.
I know that you look insane. I know that you're correct, but I also know you look insane. Oh,
look
it's like
so
it's so
insane
hard
right
to
now.
watch.
Oh,
Yeah.
also the freak out in the rave after they leave and stuff. Like John is so sweet to go after her and like keep offering, but that was the most awkward first kiss I think I've ever seen
It
in
was
my
so
life.
awkward. It was so
They
awkward.
said.
I was just happy that they
Yeah.
kissed. I wasn't even paying attention. I was like, yeah, my ship. Yes.
I
He
thought
said,
it- I
"I
thought
am
it-
successful today."
I thought it was awkward too. I was like, oh,
Get
this
that
is
dick,
weird.
girl.
And then like they just, I don't know, the thought they literally look like children. So like John and Ellie, they just look like
Mhm.
children. They don't look like they're like, so like watching them like about to like have sex, I'm like, this is weird. Y'all look like kids.
Really? How old are the actors?
Probably in their 20s.
Yeah, they're probably adults, but they just
Yeah.
look like kids. They look very young. Like,
Oh,
Not to go back to the women being made to feel like they're crazy. Have any of you seen the movie Changeling with Angelina Jolie?
No.
Okay, I don't know if I should like wait and recommend it, but that is like, it's a really good movie and I've always really liked it, but that is like the ultimate, everyone makes her think that she's crazy, and like one of the main plot lines in the story is that like her son is abducted, and the police like bring a kid back and they're like, here's your son, and she's like, that's not my son, and they're like, it's your son, and she's like, okay, and then she just like has some kid and it's like not her son, and like everyone is making her feel like she's crazy. It's like a really good movie.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really
I'm so
wild.
uncomfortable. Ugh.
I know, and she's just like, and everyone's like, what, you're not gonna take this kid? And she's like, it's not my kid. Okay. Yeah, it's
God.
like, yeah, it's a really good movie.
Yeah. I have a note
Oh.
about the police and like going to the police. I was like, girl, what are you gonna tell the police?
What?
Oh, you're gonna make them think you're crazy. And then for the third one, I put, because the police are always the most sympathetic and kind individuals who listen and believe women, right?
I'm like, what?
Right.
I'm like, what?
Especially,
What do you want them to do? If this murder took place
Right?
50 years ago, what do you want them to do about it now?
I
Go
was
talk to
literally-
Grand. She believes you and your ghost shit.
Yeah, like, girl,
I-
the Popo don't care. I'm sorry.
I literally was like, why are you going to the place right now? Like, what is this? Do not do that.
Yeah, I saw a murder that happened in the 60s. They're gonna be like,
What?
Although,
Okay.
I was thinking maybe her line of thinking was, if I can solve the mystery of who killed Sandy, then her spirit can lay to rest, and then she
And
won't
leave me the
haunt
fuck alone.
anymore. Yeah, I was
Mhm.
wondering, like, maybe that was her thought process. Like, oh, if I expose who killed her and we get Jack arrested, then maybe my life will go back to normal. That's the only thing I could think of. But even then, like, do you go to the cops for like a super old ass murder?
And
I
Like,
think
like-
that's just one you gotta detective yourself, unfortunately.
yeah, I feel like you would have to solve it yourself and then like tell the press or something.
And then like her like just like, well, I know who it is. He's this old man that walks around, and I'm like, you didn't even know what his name is.
Yeah.
You're just like
Yeah.
assuming that he's Jack. Like
This old guy is being weird.
he's being weird, so he's the murderer.
Yeah.
And the cops are like, can you give us like a last name? And she's like, he drinks at this bar. And they're like,
He drank at this bar in the 60s.
yeah. Like,
To be
we'll look
fair.
into it.
To be fair, he was being really fucking weird. Why
He
was
was
he being so weird? That's what I was.
I know where all the pretty girls are. in this
Why would you
neighborhood.
say that if you're a good person? What a weird thing to say.
Yeah, also, if you're a cop, why would you talk about keeping... We'll get to that later.
Yeah.
We'll get to that
Yeah.
later.
Oh,
But one of the scares in this section that I loved was when she turned around and the mannequin was Bloody Sandy.
Oh, yeah.
It was
yes,
so
that
good.
was a
That
good
was so
one.
effective.
You know what's so
Yeah.
funny is that when I saw that, I was thinking, ooh, that'd be cool on her dress, like a red, like
Like a
red
jewelry.
like jewel thing. Yeah, I was like,
oh
ooh.
yeah.
Incorporate murder into your design.
I was like,
Yes.
she gonna add that? No, she's not.
She's a little traumatized at the moment. One note that I didn't write down, but I remember Joe and I like were talking about it the first time we watched it. That like, do you think Jack as a character is sort of like an ode to Jack the Ripper? Because Jack the Ripper is like a London-based, like, I mean, he's a murderer in like the 1800s or something, but like, I don't know, we sort of got like Jack the Ripper sort of.
Didn't
Oh.
Jack the Ripper
I thought-
specifically only kill prostitutes?
I feel like something like that.
Maybe. And I thought he was in like the 1800s, not like the
Yeah,
60s.
he was, yeah, he was, but like just
Okay.
kind of like an ode to that kind of like.
Oh,
he's
sure,
not-
an ode? I can
Yeah.
get behind an ode.
Yeah. I don't think he's not like Jack the Ripper, but I felt like, you know, a Jack in London that's like whoring out women in the entertainment business. I don't know. We sort of were like, maybe that's like a little something there.
Yeah.
Hard to say.
But before she goes into the bar, I was like, it's an interesting ploy to like chase the creepy old man who's been freaking you out the whole movie,
Yeah.
to like go after him and try it. I don't like, how did you expect that to end? Probably not with him dying, but
I
But
think
she's
she
like
just wanted a
screaming.
confession. That's why she's
Yeah.
recording.
I guess so.
His
But like, yeah,
mother.
why are you acting so weird if you're just the nice cop from the bar?
Right.
Just to
Because
be like, hey, my name is Lindsay. If you need any help, let me know. Like,
Yeah,
why'd
or
you have
at
to be
any
all like
point-
weird and cryptic and like stare at her?
Yeah. Or at any
Or
point, just be
old
like,
Sam
I was a cop.
Claflin.
I was a cop in the '60s, and you remind me of like a
This
of a girl
lady
that,
I knew.
yeah.
That's
Like,
because those like flirty old men. Because I've been around a lot, like working at Lowe's and stuff. People are just like, oh, that's just him. Ha 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 ha. It's like that type of thing.
But then my roommate Bella pointed out that the conversation that they have when he says like they look better on the slab and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She pointed out that most of that conversation was using a lot of cop speak, and that was
Yeah.
supposed to hint that it wasn't Jack.
Yeah, through that whole conversation that he was having, I was like, oh, this is the cop. Because like he said so many things and I was just like, oh, that's the cop, because he at one point he even said something in the conversation that he said with Sandy. It was something like, I told her that she was too good for this. I was like, oh, he's the cop. I immediately was like, oh, that's it.
I knew he wasn't Jack, but I didn't know who he was.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Because especially because like Sam Claflin's character plays like just a tiny little role in that
It's
one
like
scene.
one
Yeah.
itty bitty moment, and there's only the hint that he's a cop because she says like, "What are you, a copper or something?" And it's not like he's not like, "Well, what's up? Here's my badge." You know, it's like it's not confirmed that he's a cop. So
Yeah, I knew it was him from when he said that line, because I was like, oh yeah, because he said that you're too good for this.
Can we say too, or can I say that like I feel like the casting was so good because like the lady who plays Sandy and then older Sandy, like they actually look really similar. And then like once they were like, oh, he was the cop, Lindsay, and they like went back and showed him, I was like, he does look like that guy.
Yeah.
Like the casting was really good with like older and younger people. Some movies are really bad about that.
I have a note. I don't know what triggered it, but it just says, I want Eloise and Sandy to kiss. And I do.
in the
and
mirror.
I stand by that.
That would have been good. They didn't go that route.
They fall in love.
Okay. Before things get too saucy, we have to move to chapter 5.
Okay.
The penultimate chapter. All right, this one's a little long, so you gotta be with me. Okay, chapter 5. Things are dandy with Sandy. Panicked, Ellie goes to inform Miss Collins that she is leaving London. Miss Collins invites her in for tea to talk to her. We see her records and cigarettes amongst vintage 60s decor. Ellie starts to explain, and then Mrs. Collins explains Sandy did die back then, but in a figurative sense, as the abuses she survived stripped away her identity bit by bit. Collins then reveals that she is actually Sandy, and Ellie's vision of Sandy's death was in fact a vision of Sandy killing Jack when he threatened her with a knife. Sandy then lured the men that she was pimped to by Jack back to her room and killed them, hiding their bodies in the house's floorboards and walls. Mrs. Collins reveals she has also drugged Ellie's tea and intends to kill her to ensure her silence. Ellie gets sick and tries to fight back. In the ensuing drug-hazed scuffle, a cigarette in an ashtray falls into the record box and ignites a fire. John tries to come to Ellie's aid, but Miss Collins stabs him. Ellie flees upstairs to her room in an epic slasher vision swapping between old and young Sandy. And when she gets to her room, the spirits of Sandy's victims beg Ellie to kill Miss Collins, but she refuses. Miss Collins enters Ellie's room, where she also sees spirits and is struck by the ghost of Jack. With the police outside, she attempts to cut her own throat to avoid going to prison, but is stopped by Ellie, who tells her she understands why she killed the men and begs her to stay alive. Miss Collins, as Sandy, tells Ellie to save herself and John. She stays in the building as it burns to a crisp. Discuss.
So
I-
much.
I will say, I guessed it from the beginning that was Sandy. I was like, I bet that old lady's Sandy. And
What were
then I
your
was like,
clues?
I don't know. I just thought she. And then I saw her die. I was like, oh, maybe not. And then when she went to go see her again, I was like, oh no, that's right, that's Sandy.
See, my brother said he guessed it when Mrs. Collins was like, oh, I can't leave this place. You know, there's too many memories here or whatever. He was like, is she Sandy? I didn't catch that. I didn't really think anything. I just assumed she's just some old landlady. Like I thought.
Because I was like, she's so unassuming. Like, I just like didn't even think about it because I was like, you clearly saw Sandy get stabbed so many fucking times.
That's
Like-
a
that's
question.
the thing too.
I don't
She
understand.
died.
that part.
You
Yeah.
assume that she was a ghost.
So,
I
like,
guess-
is
I
that
guess
the thing? Is that she just like was stabbed and survived it, or she wasn't? Because like in the second, when we like see it again, it's like he, is like trying to stab her, but then she gets him, and it's like she isn't stabbed at all, so I can't tell. Yeah, go ahead.
I took that as when she realized, Jack does not love her, is her pimp, and would kill her or whatever. That's when Sandy died.
That's like her figure.
And she just went back to being Alexandra. Is that her name?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Alexandra.
that's when Sandy died and Alexandra took over. So I think it was just a metaphor that Jack killed Sandy.
Yes, agreed.
But, like, she didn't actually die.
Yes, because she does say Sandy did die in that room multiple times over and over.
Also, I think it would have been so much cooler if, like, because you saw her, like, board them up in the walls and the floors and stuff. I thought it would have been so cool, like, Haunted Connecticut style, where the house is burning up and bodies are falling out. I thought that would have been cool.
Oh, sure.
I thought
Cool.
I thought that's what was gonna happen. I was like, oh.
It's kind of a bummer that because like honestly, her killing all those dudes, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah,
I don't have a
girl.
problem with it at all. But like, if she just didn't also try to kill Eloise, if she was just like, yeah, I did that, and Eloise was like,
okay,
good on
can
you.
I leave now?
But it's like the fact that she's like tries to kill her is like, come on.
Well, I think she
You have to
assumed
do
that
that.
Eloise was gonna like get her put in prison or something.
Yeah,
I guess
she was
that's
assuming
true.
Eloise was going to go to the authorities.
But
So she already did.
I literally said, I was like, Ellie's a fucking G. She was like, I don't care that my girl murdered you. That's my girl.
Yeah.
I'm not ratting her out.
I'm gonna pick a man over a woman.
All
Never
these
No.
men are like, help me. And she's like, no.
Like,
Fuck you.
I'll help you die.
Yeah.
No, I think that's why she was going to kill Eloise, because the cops did come, because she was like, oh, they came and like had a wellness check, and I think in her brain she was like, this goes too much trouble. I got to get her out of here.
Yeah.
It's just a bummer. It's like they could have they could have just had like a nice mutual understanding, and like once Eloise is in on it, she could have just been like, no harm, no foul.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep going to fashion school. I won't mention a thing.
Yeah, I just didn't know what was going on here.
You can kill all the men you want.
Also, like, I thought this was another thing when she was just like, no, live, and I'm like, bitch, she's gonna go to jail for life. Let her kill herself.
Yeah,
I don't think she would have, though, because I don't think the cops would have known.
Yeah, I guess
After
if no
the bodies are all exposed
the bodies
in the
are
house.
Yeah, the bodies are in the house.
But all those people died like 50 years ago.
Yeah, but their bones and
Still
stuff are
killed
still in the walls.
I guess
But they're in the walls. They didn't get
Yeah.
there themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, bones would still be there. I didn't think about bones. I was just like, their bodies would have.
You always gotta think about bones.
But the staircase scene, iconic. It's so good. I love that scene. So the
like their voices merging. Like,
yes, it was
really good.
so good. I loved the colors. I loved you couldn't tell what was real and not. Like, obviously somebody is chasing her up the stairs trying to kill her, but like the fire is like, it's just the whole scene is like so pretty. I loved it. And Sandy looked so fucking hot too. I was like, I'd let you
So hot.
You can stab me anytime you want, Sandy.
God, and I also have a note that says a lot of people have said that they don't understand why Ellie doesn't just like run up the stairs to get away from Sandy. But y'all, she's drugged as hell.
Drugs.
Yeah.
Obviously.
It isn't easy to like get up the stairs, let alone with your murderous landlord chasing after you. Jesus.
John got stabbed. Also, she's like breathing in smoke, and did she get stabbed once, or she didn't get stabbed at all?
No, she didn't get stabbed.
No, she didn't get stabbed.
Oh, okay.
She got knocked in the head.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, only John got stabbed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I couldn't remember.
But but like her like drug-induced vision of Sandy like singing as she's like swinging at her with the knife. It's so
and it looks like
so
the staircase in the club. It's
yes.
And it's just like fire coming up from like anywhere and everywhere. Just like it just looked so pretty.
And the cut after old Sandy starts cutting her throat, and it cuts back, and it's young Sandy with the
she's
throat
got a
slash.
Yeah, the switching is so good. But this when Ellie just like throws her arms around her and gives her a hug, I was like, oh.
I cry.
Like it just It felt like Ellie is who Sandy needed back then, but there was no one like Ellie around her. It's just so sad that like Sandy was just she had to deal with all this shit by herself, and she had to like save herself and get her own revenge, and then just live her life miserably, and she didn't have anyone like Ellie around. And it's
All
just,
she needed was a supportive gal pal.
And Ellie needed someone like Sandy. Like
that's the thing. It's like these two girls who are just like they're just trying to make it in their industry, and everybody treats them like shit. And it's like if only they just had each other. If only they just had one good friend.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It broke my heart.
Girlfriends.
Yeah, this is like because this scene is so cool, but you're also like, oh.
No. It's like it didn't have to come to this.
I know. I also made a bad joke at the end. When she's like sitting in the house, I said, Sandy's about to become ashy.
Okay. See yourself out.
But only if it's 1400 degrees, apparently, as we learned last week.
What did we learn that during? Oh, the Mandy thing.
Yeah, Mandy.
Yeah, you need 1400 degrees, apparently, to incinerate bone.
So that episode came in handy.
Yeah. We learned something every episode. I have to say, I was talking to Siberia on the phone later, and like before this, and I feel dumb that I didn't notice it before. So there's when Lindsay, before he dies, when he says, "Oh, Jack didn't kill Sandy, Alex killed Sandy." I was sitting there like, "Who the fuck is Alex?"
I know.
And I was like, "Oh, Alexandra, she killed herself." I see. Okay.
Yeah, but she also gave the name Alex to him, and he's like, "That's not." Oh yeah, he's like, "That's not your real name."
Connection. I was like, "Who's Alex?" Did I miss
She gave like Alexi.
Yeah.
And like a bunch of different names.
I just assumed there was like a man named Alex. And I was like, I don't know
who is that.
Did I miss a character?
Yeah, I was really confused.
Are we ready to move on to the final the final section of this episode?
Yes.
All right, we have chapter 6, the resolution.
You need to leave.
I hate you. You need to leave.
All right, I have sometime in the near future after the fire, Ellie enjoys success as her designs, inspired by her time with Sandy and the gang, are showcased at the end of the year fashion show. She is congratulated backstage by her sweet-ass grandmother, and John, who is now her boyfriend. Ellie sees her mother's spirit in a mirror, like normal, and then a vision of Sandy, who waves at her and blows her a kiss.
I'm sorry, I hate this ending so much.
Really? I loved it.
Your opinion.
This is literally what like makes a good time. It's just like this happens, and then all of a sudden everything's cool. She's that, and I'm like, no.
What do you want to happen?
Yeah,
She's
what do you mean?
the ghosts.
Yeah, but like, think about real world. She like went to the cops over like some crazy shit. She like freaked out in school. She almost stabbed Jacosta in the fucking library. You know, she went and told people. Like,
She deserves that.
there's just like so much stuff
Just
that I'm
fine.
like, this is it. I wish it would have ended right as like the burning and like grit and like the lady in the. I wish it would have ended there. Like that whole ending part was lame for me.
I liked having a happy ending. I assumed because a lot of the characters
It didn't make sense.
because a lot of the characters knew that her mom had mental health issues and ended up killing herself. That they were kind of like, you need to get Ellie some help. So I just kind of like assumed that like
We need to get her
was
some
like,
help. Why
I
is she
had
still in school?
I had a mental break due to like stress or whatever, and they're like, oh, here's some therapy, and then she just moved on with her life. Didn't tell anyone what happened, but everybody just assumed she had like kind of a mental break.
I wish she would have went on a middle break. It just kind of looked like it just went right into like she's back in school doing this.
But also to piggyback off that, the transition of Sandy walking into the model walking into the fashion show is
that was
amazing.
so good. Although I'm sorry, I don't like those dresses. I didn't like them.
Just okay.
Yeah,
I think it's really cool that they're inspired by her time in the hellscape, but like, yeah, they're not the cutest things I've ever seen.
The one
There's
with
like the silver
harness. I was like, girl, I don't like that one.
Even in the beginning when she was showing the dress, I'm like, that looks like a 60s dress that you'd seen. Like, I wish they would have like taken that design and made it into something different instead of just like completely copying. Yeah, just completely recreating it. That was another thing that kind of like bothered me. I was like, oh, it's just like a 60s dress. Yeah. Like,
when the teacher's like, this material will never work. It's like it's like a chiffon or something.
It's just chiffon.
It's literally just
Sure
chiffon.
Like one of the dresses at the end, I think it's like a red one. It has some really cool like diamond smocking pattern at the bottom. I thought that was pretty, but the rest of the dress was cool. So.
Smocking, sewing nerd over here.
I think is that what that's called? Right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the only that dress. I was like, oh, it's kind of cool, but the silver harness thing, I was like, I hate that girl.
It's
That's
giving
ugly.
Xenon girl of
That's
the 21st
what I thought
century.
too. Literally, I thought the same thing.
I did mention that. Like, I think the ending just was like that because it just made me think of like the Stranger Things ending, which is like 2 days later, everything's like fine, and I was like, okay.
Well, I feel like it was only. I mean, like I didn't mind the ending, but I think the 2 days later jump scare in Stranger Things is so off-putting because it's like the madness, and then it's like you don't see any of it. But so it's like, oh well, we should have seen that. But the fact that I feel like there's like it's implying that quite a bit of time has passed because in the when she's like going through this shit in this, when she's on the phone with her grandma, she's like, it's only been like a few weeks that she's been, or maybe it's when she's talking to the cops. They're like, how long have you been here? And she's like, I've been here a few weeks.
Yeah.
So if we're cutting to like the end of a semester, it's definitely like
It's end of year.
End of year, yeah, whatever.
So like it's like a full school
year.
So
it's definitely like been enough time that it's like, okay, we can assume that like some resolution in the real world has happened, and now we're like cutting up. But I don't know. That was just like my
I do have to say, I feel like a happy ending in a horror movie is very like sometimes it works great, and sometimes you're like, this should not have had a happy ending. But I feel like because this is one of those horror movies that like really makes you care about the main character, that giving it an unhappy ending would have just like pissed you off.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Like want her to like.
I want her to be
back
happy.
to her hometown.
You made me fall in love with her. I want her to be happy. Yeah.
I mean, it still would have been a happy ending. Her getting out with John. I don't know.
I
thought
like
It
just
was
like
also-
less,
Yeah.
like more implied ending than like.
Yeah, that's what I would have
last
liked.
bit.
Yeah, that's what I would like. That was the one thing I was like, I don't like the ending.
I can understand that. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
it totally
I
could
am
have ended like
satisfied
with
with the
her. It could have ended with her wrapped up, like watching the house go up in flames. That totally could have been the ending.
Yeah,
Sure.
that's true.
I think I'm also being super harsh because I literally just watched Nope, and then I jumped in to watch this, so like my brain was like, no, nope.
I have to say though, I think I also liked the ending because I was watching this movie with the lens that it was trying to say, like, no girl, set your boundaries, stand up for yourself, do not let people walk all over you, do not try to be an it girl, don't fantasize about being like the perfect girl, just be you. And so I think seeing her have that happy ending and being like, thank you for inspiring me, Sandy, but I will not be you. I felt like the message came across very well. So I think that's part of why I liked the ending. It was like Ellie kind of learned her lesson of like, don't chase this dream of like, oh, the 60s it girl who's like perfect and pretty and every boy loves her. It's like, no, that's not who I am, and that's not what I want, you know? So I think giving her a happy ending helped kind of solidify that message.
Yeah.
So I think that's
also
part of why I like it.
Yeah, and the last note of the movie that I have is like I truly love how this movie plays into the idea of I was born in the wrong time period and shows you that like for every good thing you love about a time period in history, there's equally horrific things that happened as well. So like, no, you weren't born in the wrong time period. Bitch.
That
You
always bothers
just
me.
like a short dress.
Yeah, that always bothers me when people are like, I was born in the wrong time period. I'm like, no.
I'm like,
Girl,
no,
you
you like heavy metal, and so you think you should have been born in the 80s, but you just like heavy metal.
Yeah.
It's like heavy metal. You don't, you shouldn't have been born there. Like,
I should have been born in the 50s. Girl, you can put on a poodle skirt and go get a milkshake.
Yeah.
Nobody's
Yeah.
stopping
Right.
you.
We can do it without the racism.
Yeah.
should have been born in the 20s.
It's
No.
very similar to like I have an old soul. It's like you can
Yeah.
enjoy like tea and reading
Right.
books and like
Yeah, you can enjoy like.
You can be an
red
old
for
soul
me.
and think gay people are people.
yeah.
Yeah.
How old is your soul? Like what do you? I don't. It's a very not like I'm not like. Other
I'm not
girls,
like
even though
most
like men are
girls.
like that too. But
Most
it's the same
girls.
vibe.
This hair is a wig.
But
Alright,
did anyone opinions change after discussion? I feel like I'm still.
Yeah, I hate this movie now.
Oh.
I'm still a 7. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I still say a 9. I think also this movie kind of does what I'm looking for in psychological thrillers. Personally, I always want there to be like a deeper message that you spend the whole movie trying to like understand. You're like, what does this movie want me to figure out? Like, even if you're not really like learning a message or whatever, but just like whether you're like solving a mystery or like learning something about the world or whatever, the whole movie you're like, what are you saying to me? And by the end, you're just kind of like, I get it.
Got it.
Yeah. So I loved it.
Yay,
Yay.
good reco.
Yeah, it's so good. I want to cast my Sandy.
I have another little section that I made for the end.
Okay.
And it's clues that she was Sandy all along.
Ooh.
I made a list of all the clues that I noticed throughout
Okay,
the
wait,
movie.
is one that she didn't want men in the house?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've talked about a few of them already, but I want to read them all because I read them.
Give us a list.
Okay.
All right, so I said she has lived in the house since the 60s and explicitly told Ellie she hasn't changed the room since then. We have the no men rule, obviously. She warns Ellie about a smell in the summertime from the French bistro, but it's really the bodies in the fucking floor.
I didn't even catch that.
That was good.
Well, but she says it's garlic.
Huh?
Oh, wait, but doesn't she like specify that it's garlic?
They're vampires. I don't know what to tell you.
I don't remember what she said.
Yeah, she said it's garlic.
Yeah, because she's like, I hope you like garlic, because there's like a French bistro that it's like the only smell you're gonna smell.
Yes. Maybe she like puts garlic in the. I don't know.
Whatever.
She
I'm going
could
with
to
your
cover
theory.
up the smell.
Yeah.
And then I go. She instantly goes to threaten to kill John when she talks to Ellie about him being in the room after dark. Like that's an interesting first place to go.
You're right.
And then Diana Rigg, who played Mrs. Collins, was a starlet of the 60s and therefore everything Sandy dreamed of being. And so, like, I thought that was cool that, like, the actress who played the older version of her was who she wanted to be in the 60s.
Oh, that's cool.
And all of, like, the, like, dancing ballerina, like, trinket things that the camera, like, lingers on them lots of times. And they're also seen in Miss Collins' apartment in that last scene.
I noticed them, but I didn't tie it together. I was just kind of like, there's a lot of little, like, ballerina trinkets everywhere. But I didn't, like, connect the dots.
Yeah. And then the last one I said, she also said she couldn't leave the house because of all of the memories it carried. Memories are bodies.
Memories.
Where is the body?
Yeah, good solid list. I'm sorry, my lighting has.
That was my full TED talk on Last Night in Soho. Well, I'm so glad y'all liked it. This is one of my faves, so I was really like.
I did hate it.
You hated it out of spite.
I did hate it. I said it was okay. I enjoyed it. It's just that I probably won't watch it.
I'll take a 7. A 7 is a solid C. I felt pressure to do well after the Drag Me to Hell fiasco.
You really stepped up your game.
Yeah.
We're proud of you.
Yeah, thank you. I do have good taste.
Yeah, this was a good recovery.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I feel vindicated now. All right, and I think we're moving on to Pumpkin for the
next movie. I'm so excited. You've been like so tight-lipped about it. I have no idea.
I have no idea what you're saying.
Siberia actually guessed it. We were on the phone, and she was like, "Is it this movie?" And I was like, "Damn it, you got me." Okay.
What can I say?
Since our theme for this month is psychological, I'm choosing a movie that had me absolutely on the edge of my seat, trying to figure out what was going on the first time I saw it. Even though this was only the director's second horror movie, it was met with amazing critical acclaim and great financial success when it was released in 2019, sitting on a profit of over $200 million, a rating of 93% from Rotten Tomatoes and an 81% from Metacritic. The movie I want to watch is Us.
Yes! God, I love Us.
I
I
love
love
this
Us.
movie.
I love Us.
That
so
is so.
much.
I literally just watched Get Out 2 nights ago, and I was because my friend was here and she had never seen it, so I was like, "Well, we should watch it because it's really good." And because I had just watched Nope last weekend, so I might as well round out my Jordan Peele a thon.
I love
Yes.
I love Us. Us was gonna be one of the ones that I was gonna pick too, and I was like, no, somebody's gonna pick that because that's my favorite Jordan Peele movie. Nope is up
It's-
there.
Yeah, Nope is a close second now. I liked Us better than Get Out. I loved Get Out, but I felt
Yeah.
like Get Out felt like a little kind of on the nose, but Us
Mhm.
was kind of like,
Oh, Us
what
was-
are you telling us, Jordan? What do you want us to feel from
Us
it?
was so good.
I thought you were. I
I'm-
almost thought you were going to say Midsummer because you said
Oh,
second.
sure.
I was like, oh, is it Midsummer?
Yeah,
Because
I
think
was
they
like-
came out the same year too.
I'm
was-
very excited to watch this movie because when I saw that, I've only seen this movie once and it was in theaters. And the people I went to go see this movie in theaters with were like screaming and hollering at the screen the whole time. And I was just like
Aw.
embarrassed to be there.
Yeah.
So I loved the movie, but I'm so excited to like be able to like
Watch
sit
it.
and watch it.
I
Yes.
love Us. I'm excited to watch this again. Oh,
Yeah, I was tied between Hereditary and Us because those are probably like my two
Yeah.
favorite psychological.
Yeah.
Like,
Hereditary is so good.
Yeah.
So good.
but
But
Us,
luckily, Hereditary can fall into other categories.
it can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can.
We will put it in this podcast. at
Because
some
Tony
point.
Collette will be on your screen.
We're going to watch it.
but you know what's crazy is okay. So Us got a 93% from critics, but only a what was it? Okay, suddenly my phone doesn't work.
It was a 60.
60 from audience. So I really want to like pick that apart. I'm like,
Yeah,
Well,
that's really weird.
I guess I'm gonna be maybe the one that can aid in that. I'm not gonna say too much, but Us is definitely my least favorite Peele movie.
really?
Oh, I'm
Okay.
excited to discuss
I've,
that.
I've only seen it once, so I'm like
Uh-huh.
excited to watch it again. But it was certainly like not my favorite of his.
Ooh.
Really?
That's like, that's
Okay.
like, I was disappointed that Nope only got a 68 from the crowd audience. I was like, oh, that's so
That one I can see though, because I feel like there's a certain type of person that's like, ooh, an alien sci-fi horror movie. And
Yeah. Let's stop talking about.
We
Nope.
won't say anything.
No, I
Oh,
wasn't
you
saying
want-
anything. I think
uh,
there's a certain crowd of people that like probably thought they were getting something from Nope, and they got something else, and they were like mad about it. And I'm
My
like,
theory also, like, since it just came out, I wouldn't be surprised if it's being review bombed in some capacity because it's Jordan Peele, and I just like wouldn't be surprised if
it might peter out later.
like since it just
Yeah.
came out, it might be like
That's true.
having a wave of like people being like,
I
but-
could also see it. I could also see it too because when because I watched it with my grandma and my mom, and me and my mom were like glued to the screen the whole time, and my grandma looked over me like, "This is boring." But then by the end of it, she was like, "I changed my mind. This was good."
and that's all we'll say.
Yeah, that's all I'll say.
Watch it. Wait, does anyone have any other like recommendations from the week?
I was gonna say real quick where you can watch Us.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't see it anywhere for free. You can get it for $3.99 on YouTube, Apple TV, Vudu, or Prime.
What do you think I am, a material girl? No.
Material girl.
I have I actually have a recommendation and a do not watch.
Yeah, tell
Right.
us all about it.
My recommendation is obviously no. My do not watch is The Sadness. It literally like you guys heard me like rant about how much I hate Serbian film. It's up there with Serbian film on how much I hate
Great.
it.
Wow.
There's literally a traumatizing scene in it, and I'm just like, nope, it's bad. Do not.
I mean, I
watch.
know that you said that you didn't like it, but
Is
that's
it essay?
It's a lot of essay. There's a lot of
Oh,
essay in the
sure.
movie. It's like constant. Yeah, it's just
Oh.
a lot of essay. Like, and like it's one of those movies where like the director's like, this is the same thing. It's the same thing with all those like messed up horror films where they're like, I'm just trying to show how bad humans can get. Well, you don't have to go that far.
There's
Like,
plenty of other ways you could have done it,
there's
buddy.
plenty of other ways that you can do it.
It feels weird that was.
I hate that now I want to watch it just to like know.
Here's the thing. I don't want any of you to watch it, but I also want someone to watch it so that they can also like
Sounds
be
like
there.
Lauren's your girl.
Be there.
I
with
think
me.
I'm your girl because I'm like definitely.
There's literally a scene where I'm like, he's not gonna do that. Oh, he's doing it. All right.
Oh God.
Like
I have turned off movies because it gets a little bit like that, and I'm like, nope, I won't. I refuse. I will not watch it. I can't do it.
that scene that happened, I almost turned it off, and I was like, no, I am competitive. I'm gonna finish this movie.
I mean, if there's one thing you are, it's competitive.
Yeah.
I'm gonna finish this movie.
You guys have seen Black Phone, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, there's one scene where I like turned to the person, my friend that I went with. I turned to her and I was like, I swear to God, if he puts his hands, I'm leaving the theater. I'm getting up. I will walk out. And luckily, nothing. There's no essay or anything. But for a second there, I thought there was going to be some. I was like, I swear to God.
I thought there was gonna be a child essay in that movie, and I was like,
yeah, I was getting real worried.
But it didn't happen.
It
didn't happen. It didn't happen.
That one scene.
Yeah, but he's just like, no.
We ain't gonna talk about that.
I'll have to watch it. Yeah,
I
you
have
need to watch Black
from
Phone.
this week that I've
It's
watched.
still just on early access, so I'm like waiting for it to be a rental. I watched Prey on Hulu.
Yeah, everybody's been talking about how
I
good
want to
that
watch
is.
that.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I went into it. I like tweeted this, but I went into it not even knowing what Predator is. I've never seen a Predator movie. We started watching it, and I was like, and they were all like, "Oh, it's a Predator movie," and I was like, "Okay." I was like, "I know Alien versus Predator."
Yeah, that's the
What
only
is Predator? And they showed me a picture, and I was like, "Oh, I've seen people like cosplay that and stuff," but I've never seen a Predator movie in any sense. So yeah, so I had like no expectations going in.
It gives me such high hopes.
I know, but it was like so good from like beginning to end. Like we were like 10 minutes into it, and we were just like gassing it up the whole time. We were all like, "Are we being weird about how much we like this?" And it was just like, "No, I think it's just really good. It's just a really good movie."
Yeah,
watch it.
I'm the same. I've never seen the only Predator movie I ever saw was Alien versus Predator. So
I love the Predator.
Yeah.
The third Predator movie was so good.
Pumpkin, you here with me?
Yeah.
Well, now I want to watch them because now I'm like, maybe I'm a Predator stan.
Oh my God, wait for me. I'll come to Colorado specifically for a Predator marathon.
Guys, I'm like, look at me in the dark here.
You are the Predator.
You are the Predator.
You look so, for our listeners.
Stop. You look like a
at home-
floating baby doll head right now.
For our listeners at home, Lauren is in pitch black darkness, and just her face is illuminated.
That's your head.
It got so dark.
Can I talk about my rec for this week?
Yes.
Jesus
I watched a horror movie. I've been getting into this weird habit of watching horror movies in the morning by myself.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want judgment.
You got the whole day to recover from it, though.
I don't care what you want. We're going to judge you.
I
Yeah,
just
what did
wake
you-
up and I'm like, I want to be spooked.
Okay, what'd you watch?
I watched The Uninvited for the first time.
Oh,
love
that's a
that
good
movie.
one.
Elizabeth.
That's a good one.
Elizabeth Banks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
That's-
shit.
It's a great movie.
had-
It's really good.
It's a good movie.
It's one of the best plot twists I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
It's really
shit
well
had
done.
me gooped.
The jump scare at night when she's like in her room.
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, I'm
You haven't
just.
seen The Uninvited? It's so good.
Oh,
That's a good
I need to watch
Oh,
it.
watch it. It's on
I have
Hulu.
to say though,
Watch it.
you know how usually like the Korean or like Japanese version of a movie is like usually kind of the better one.
Yeah.
There is a version. I don't remember what it was called.
It's called
And-
A Tale of Two Sisters because I was just about to
Yes.
say that.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, I watched that one and it was so bad.
So bad. I was
Oh my God.
I was so bored. I was
What?
like,
Like I watched the whole thing and like I was like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this is The Uninvited, but just like bad, like a really bad.
And the
version of
Korean
this
one is
movie.
always better.
I know,
Yeah.
and it was like dog shit bad.
it was so bad. Like me and my
Mhm.
mom watched it and she like fell asleep and I
yeah,
was like,
so boring.
because I'm competitive, I sat and watched the whole thing. I was like, I hate this movie.
Yeah, but The Uninvited, like the American version of it,
so much better.
that one
It's
slaps.
so good.
So good.
It's like for 2009. Maybe I just love a 2000s movie.
I'm a
but that shit
I love
holds up.
2000s movies.
2000s movies are the best.
They're so good.
so good. That is peak horror right there. It's
The
2000s.
question is when, like, in what category and who's gonna recommend The Ring when we get to like whatever genre that is.
That could be Supernatural or Stalker, honestly.
Oh, it could be soccer.
I haven't seen The Ring in a really long
So
time.
long.
It's been
I have-
forever.
I have such a funny story about that. So The Ring came out when I was like in 5th grade, and because I like grew up in North Carolina, Hickory, they we were talking about it on the bus, and like one of my friends was like, "Yeah," and like she comes out of a whale, and I was like, "A whale?" So like I was like,
Are you watching Pinocchio?
I was like in 5th grade thinking about something coming out of like an animal, and so when I watched it, I was like, "Oh,
Oh, whale.
oh well."
Oh, I was like, I literally don't even know what you're saying.
Yeah, I was like, there's no whales.
Oh,
in
I
the
know. I was
ocean.
like, a whale.
I was like,
Whale.
No,
"Oh,
the Ring, the
whale."
classic of Jonah and the whale.
Yeah, I was like,
The
what is it?
whale.
Pinocchio? Like, what are they talking about?
What's the whale in Pinocchio called?
Whale.
No, he has a
No.
name. Monstro.
Monstro.
What is
So funny, she
Monstro?
crawls out of Monstro.
It is Monstro because that's a world in Kingdom Hearts.
Oh.
That scared
Context
the shit out
clues.
of me. When I
And would
watched Pinocchio as a child, Monstro scared the shit out of me.
Joe and I just recently rewatched Pinocchio because we were like, remember how much of a
It's
fever dream that was?
weird.
And we watched it and we were like, this
It's
movie's fucked up.
It's
really
weird
the
and
island-
racist.
The island of boys that are like smoking
Pleasure
cigars and like
Pleasure
being
Island.
turned into donkeys is like,
No,
Yeah.
I literally, when he's like, come to Pleasure Island, look at all the little boys. I was like,
Uh-uh.
sorry? Excuse
I
me?
will not. I will not.
I'm not gonna do that.
No, I'm good, buddy. I'm totally good.
And also, like, that movie is hella racist. No, that's Dumbo.
Dumbo is hella racist.
Dumbo's hella racist. This is
Yes.
not a Disney movie podcast, though.
No.
Yeah, sorry. We got off track.
I don't know.
Forgot,
some of those,
honestly,
some of
forgot
those
we were
Disney
recording a
movies.
podcast. So
Yeah.
we were just
Yeah.
kind of
It's just us talking.
Sorry, we're friends, everybody.
Like a 5-year-old Pinocchio could be like, I've heard people say that like the drunk dream sequence in Dumbo with the elephants on parade,
Yeah.
like gave them nightmares as a child.
Horrifying.
I was gonna say some of that stuff you can like some of those kids movies like we kind of had some like messed up kids movies when
They
we
were
were growing
dark.
up. Like
Yeah.
have any of you seen Brave Little Toaster?
Yes.
I love
Yeah.
I love Brave Little
that?
Toaster, but that whole scene when he's like in like the shop where the things are pulled apart and that
Uh-huh.
song, terrifying,
Yeah.
terrifying.
They had
Yeah,
some scary
Horror
dark shit.
movies for children.
Yeah.
Literally.
They were priming us,
Yeah,
Yeah,
they've
I
gotten
know.
considerably less horrific.
and it worked.
Yeah, it did work. Looked like a charm.
All right.
What was
Well,
it?
thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk about Last Night in Soho.
If you haven't already seen us, please make sure to go watch it for listening to our next episode.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
I'm
so
so
you can
excited.
understand us when we talk about it.
Shut the fuck up.
Hey, can I? Okay. Hello?
Knee slapper. I'm
Real knee slapper.
God, I'm so excited. I love us. Oh,
I know.
Wait,
me
what is
too.
the
Okay.
Last Night in Soho? Oh yeah, the poster for that. I'm excited to see what you do there.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting poster.
I love us.
Oh fuck! I have to do a poster for us. Ooh.
I still
Oh,
gotta
no.
I still gotta send you my photo.
Oh,
I
we haven't
the
seen
Disney
yours yet.
poster.
Oh my
I've
god.
been
I
up all
haven't done
day.
it yet. I haven't done it yet. I'll do it tonight.
Okay,
All right,
bye.
Lauren said, "Get out. Show's over."
You need to leave.
You need to leave.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening or watching. If you're watching, you got the extra benefit of looking at our pretty
Yes.
faces. So check out our YouTube channel if you want to see us. But we will see you next week to review Pumpkins Pick Us.
Woo.
Woo! See you next
Woo!
week.
Woo!
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.